Welcome to the DeFi Standard, and this is Mickey B. Fresh. Today, we're going to go over the roadmap for the Flare launch and the key development milestones. So the date is set tentatively for July 4th, 2022 for the Flare network to launch, depending audits. So that is the date, and we're going to go over today why the new technologies that have been added are the reasons for some of the delays and what impact that has on the future of the Flare network. So we're going to go through the blog. This is going to be attached in the description below from the Flare network that was released on March 30th. So Flare started as actually a research house back in 2016, funded by Ripple. And their idea was to solve some of the most difficult problems in all of crypto. And interoperability and data provisioning are two of those very difficult problems. So in 2020, we set out to build a chain that would allow for few tokens from early L1s to be used with smart contracts. This is not the Flare that we will be delivering. Through extensive additional engineering and research, we have further developed our initial ideas and protocols to build something much more exciting. Flare enables a breakthrough in decentralized cross-chain functionality. Existing solutions are unsatisfactory. I'm not going to go through every specific detail here, but what they have put together is something nobody else in crypto has been able to do. And it's because of this modular design. So light client relays do not work with all consensus protocols, and we see a lot of bridges do that. And when we talk about bridges, we're talking about value transferring to different networks, not necessarily value exchanging, even though that can be used on top of what Flare built. We're talking about bridging, so moving value across different networks. With Flare's open protocols, developers are given the tools to build an extensive array of interoperability solutions. So there's three core products that Flare has at launch. So that's going to be the F-Asset system, which provides non-smart contract chains like BTC, XRP, LTC, Algo, Doge, with smart contract functionality on Flare. Then there's going to be Layer Cake, which was recently announced last week, which we'll do a separate video on for that. But that has safe, genuinely decentralized bridges between smart contract platforms, both to and from Flare. For example, Flare and Solana, and also between third-party chains. So say Ethereum and Solana, secured by Flare. Layer Cake enables the use of F-Assets on Flare, as well as any chain integrated with Flare via Layer Cake bridge. And the third product is the Relay. Safely relay any information, including off-chain data, between any set of chains secured by the state connector. This gives developers total decentralized dApp composability, all secured by Flare. As an example of this system, we will be setting up a relay of the FTSO prices to Solana. So here's now one integration that's going to already take place. Those prices from the FTSO are going to be relayed to the Solana network for all dApps to use those prices coming from the FTSO. Flare states here, again, nothing comes close to what we are building with Flare. This is why our strapline has changed to connect everything. So let's just dive into what that means there for a second. In the past, Flare's tagline was unlocking value. Now that still applies, but they've added this new tagline, which I think is actually excellent, is connect everything, because that's really what it does. It literally connects every layer one network to every other layer one network and every layer two network. So this is a very powerful combination of technologies. We'll go through the actual technologies a little bit later here on the blog and in the next video that will come out. I don't want to dive too much into that and overwhelm everybody. This is going to be more about the roadmap and the initial rolling out of these three products. Will be coordinated by Flare for specific chains of key importance. To meet anticipated demand, we will also be launching an incentive program for developers to expand the connectivity of the Flare ecosystem. Bridges and relays based on Flare's defined product model will be built by third parties and certified by Flare. We will be launching the Flare Foundation Grants Program over the coming months for developers looking to help scale the ecosystem. So developer grant programs are coming, and I think this is also important. Solana was able to scale up very quickly and gain a ton of value because they were able to get the developers. Avalanche, same thing, they were able to get developers. Terra, able to get the developers. You have to have that developer ecosystem there, especially since Flare's EVM based. They're all going to be, it will be fairly easier than doing Solana, which was Rust and a totally different virtual machine and smart contract system. Flare is Ethereum based. So there's already so many developers. So let's go over the key milestones, which are the state connector system has now been fully deployed on Songbird. Over the next couple of weeks, the decentralized consensus model will be rolled out and validation will be incrementally shift from its current model to being run entirely by the FTSO providers. This brings the project to a point at which it is possible to launch Flare. To mitigate Flare launch technical glitch risks, an audit with Trail of Bits, one of the most reputable firms in the space, has been booked to start on May 16th. This will run for 3 weeks, and provided no issues are found, Flare will aim to launch on July 4th. The team will confirm this date in mid-June when the audit completes. So everyone know this is a soft launch date, and it's based on the audit here. And I think security always comes first. And another thing I want to bring up here, this is a network launch, not just an airdrop. And I think the community needs to understand that this is a network just launching. And that's really, it should be the focus. The airdrop already, the snapshot took place. Nobody really needs to know the airdrop's coming again. We all know we're getting it. Everyone knows what they're getting. It's going to be in your wallet. It already took place with Songbird. So the real big news and the sharing of this should be that this is Flare network launch, the state connector, the FTSO, and everything that comes with it, layer cake, and all these other things are what's the big news here. The F-asset system, that's all new that you don't have right now on Songbird. Songbird's the canary network that helped get all this going. So let's go over the anticipated order events that are going to take place on Songbird now in the meantime, up until that launch. So Songbirds Roadmap here, they make some really nice diagrams going over the different milestones to be expected. So we're going to have state connector activation has already been completed. They're going to update the consensus activation to be initiated over the next couple of weeks. So this will decentralize the Songbird network, and this will help Flare out the gate be a decentralized network. It is so difficult to create a decentralized consensus network almost at launch using proof of stake or even proof of work. They've been so difficult. They take years to do. And even Ripple took years to get XRP Ledger decentralized. These proof of stake networks need hundreds of validators. They got to distribute out the token. Flare didn't need any of that. It comes decentralized because the consensus model and the token distribution are aligned and the value is not used for the consensus. And this is key to understanding this, that they're able to create this bootstrapping off the decentralization of these other layer one blockchains that are part of the F-asset system. So that's fundamentally different than anything else that has launched to date. So the state connector client release is the third one. Release of an example client-side package for the state connector. This allows the state connector testers to correctly submit events to the state connector system. Anyone can build a client-side. Flare is simply releasing a reference implementation. Now, SB04, F-asset A launch. This version of the F-asset system enforces the agents to hold 100% of the underlying token on the underlying chain. This allows for a lower collateral ratio on Flare than 2.5x. This is the version of the F-asset system that will most likely be used for self-minting. So we're going to be able to now get a test of how the F-asset system is going to work on Flare, on Songbird. And this is the beauty of a canary network for Flare team, integrating technology, and for the community being able to test this out. We're going to be able to use, our Songbird and be able to, mint on here. Now, Not financial advice. The amount of F assets that you do mint on Songbird, I think you need to remember, is a canary network and is a test network. I think it should be used for that purpose, but we need to wait for more details on that. SBO5, Layer Cake Bridge, batch 1, launch. The first batch of Layer Cake bridges, likely with Terra and either Ethereum or Solana. So notice how Terra is the first here. And I think that's important because that allows UST, one of the biggest decentralized stablecoin in all of crypto, to be able to easily be bridged to Flare Network and to Songbird. Very important right there. Keep that in mind, knowing that we'll be able to have that ability to use UST, which is in the spotlight of crypto right now because of its algorithmic design and its just ability to scale rapidly in the amount of tokens that are issued in UST. So SBO6, this is the F-Asset B launch. This version of the F-Asset system uses 2.5 times collateral ratio on Flare, but allows the agent to hold less than 100% of the tokens on the underlying chain. So now this is the full implementation of the F-Asset system on Songbird. So there's also going to be this 2-step when Flare launches, which we'll go through next. SBO7, FTSO performance upgrade. The FTSO system will undergo optimizations with the aim of increasing both the number of possible price series and the number of possible data providers into the thousands. So now we're going from 75 to 100 FTSOs to be able to scale up to thousands of data providers. And I think this is part of that revamping that Flare's done over the last year because it's become so much bigger than what they've anticipated. There's so many more eyes on it. The community's so large already to be able to bootstrap off a community that is the XRP community. I mean, with the spotlight of the case right now and our size for years, it's just amazing to be able to airdrop to that. I know people get frustrated. Well, I want my airdrop. They told us last July. Okay, but they're building a massive layer 1 smart contract network that's going to have all this interoperability. So the token comes last to all the technology, then the token comes. So that's where we need to shift the focus. I get that token's the value, but token doesn't have any value unless the network works, people use it, collateral system works, and it connects to all these different chains. That's like any other network. Flare just happens to have a very modular design. It's not just a layer 1, cookie cutter blockchain like Binance Smart Chain was. Very different here from what they do. So now all the major changes to existing systems, such as upgrading the FTSO, will be subject to Songbird governance. So we're going to get more into the governance of how that will, affect things. And that's something new to, for example, the XRP community. Now, Songbird holders, Spark holders, you have this ability to influence the network with your votes. And this is the liquid democracy of the governance system. So now we're going to go into the anticipated order on Flare and the Flare roadmap. So several key events here have the same definitions as above. So they won't repeat them. Reference details of FL03, FL05, FL06, FL07. All right. So if you want to go through this, I'm going to link in the description below. I think you should. And even this is something you should go back to in a couple of weeks to process, because there's a lot of information in here. I don't expect everyone, even myself, to process this all in one reading. It's just a lot to take in. So FL01, this is now when Flare launches. The first thing that will happen, mainnet network launch and distribution of the initial 15% of the Spark tokens. And that means to the self-custody wallets and also the exchanges. Now we have FL02, which is the governance update on token distribution. The team has been working on a governance proposal regarding the token distribution. The proposal intends to achieve 3 things: remove the risks of an exchange failing to pass on future token distributions, and substantially increase the incentive to engage with the network. And then 3, this is interesting because this was a big topic of discussion last summer, provide positive tax implications such that a majority of recipients can avoid generating a taxable event until they claim their token allocations and withdraw from the system, This would give the recipient autonomy for when they wish to trigger a tax event. So think of kind of like a lockbox. You won't have to actually claim those tokens every month. It makes it seem like that after maybe 6 months, you could let it build up and then claim them all at once. And then that would be a claim, maybe right before tax season, if you wanted to do it that way. So what it really allows is for flexibility. What it means, everybody wins. If you want your tokens every month, you get them. If you want to let them wait and build up, you wait and let them build up. And I like that Flare, solved some of these problems over the time, because they were a big heated discussion last year. And it looks like they've been solved, especially the exchange thing too. So now the exchanges will be forced to pass on future token distributions. I don't know exactly technicals on that, doesn't say. And then there'll be an incentive to engage with the network, which is important. These tokens aren't coming to you because you deserve them because you're an XRP holder for all these years. It's not why you're getting them. You're getting them to help bootstrap a new network being part of the XRP community. But they're not a free token just to get value because you owned XRP. They're because they're a network. The governance vote for this proposal will only take place once. 75% of the initial 15% distribution is freely available to take part in the governance vote. In the case of exchanges, this means that the token will have been distributed and can be withdrawn from the exchange. The proposal details will be published with an ample advance warning before Flare launches. So more to come on the governance proposal when the actual tokens are distributed. And now we got FLO4. There'll be a Songbird bridge launch, and this will allow all Songbird tokens to be bridged to Flare and vice versa. So this is another new addition here, that they're going to have this bridge that's going to allow Songbird to go back and forth and Spark to Songbird. So now everyone, I think this kind of adds, to Songbird's utility and value, the fact that you could bring it now onto Flare. It'll always be like secondary to Spark, but the fact that you could move so fluently between these two, I think is going to be great for the community and great for the two networks going forward. So I'm glad to see that they did that. Also with NFTs, I think that'll be big too. The fact that you can move these between wallets. Now, FLO8, Layer Cake Bridge Batch 2 launch, the second batch of the Layer Cake bridges. These will focus on connecting Flare to all major smart contract chains and connecting key smart contract chains to each other. So that's the final piece. Now, in between there, like we said in the beginning, several key parts were redundantly repeated that will take place in Songbird. And the important one there is the F asset. So there's going to be two rollout stages of the F assets. There'll be the F asset A launch, and then there'll be the F asset B launch. And that will be, F asset A will only allow you to be able to mint F assets if you self-mint, meaning you have to put up the collateral in Spark to be able to mint those. And that's a change from the initial. Now, when F asset B comes in, then the agents will be able to lend it out, and you'll be able to mint any F asset you want without having to put self-minting collateral up there. But what does this do? It creates demand for Spark. So anyone who's going to want to mint early on and get those early general rewards pool Spark is going to, have to put up the Spark. So you're going to have to obtain more of it. Also, any Spark that's put in collateral, you're able to earn from the FTSO system simultaneously. So you can earn your weekly delegations while your Spark's sitting there as collateral for the F assets that you minted. So I think that's a great combination there as well. The fact that if they're going to be sitting in your wallet anyway, you can now mint F assets with them. So it does make a little change here. It's also good for those, I think, who are looking for Spark's value to go up because it creates more demand. The team is also working on a governance proposal to introduce SGB as a part of the Flare governance mechanism. Whilst not limited to, it will include an SGB bonding system over the governance of the build of the bridges between Flare and networks below the top 75 by market capitalization. The aim is to provide a mechanism to signal which bridges in this category to build and in what order. Through choosing those with the most bonded SGB, an SGB bonding system for community-generated governance proposals. Again, aim here is to sort through the governance proposals by creating a priority mechanism based on bonded SGB. Both mechanisms will include economic incentives in Spark, accruable to those that bonded their SGB to the winning proposals over bridges and governance. The finer details are still being worked out to avoid any unintended economic incentives. This is interesting. So I don't want to go too deep into that, but that's definitely something new here, combining Spark incentives to the bonding of SGB winning proposals. So interesting stuff going on here. I think it's just more for the network together to be able to connect everything. So final paragraph here from the Flare team. All of us at Flare look forward to delivering the cross-chain future and building out this ecosystem. The first community call will be held in late April. So Flare here has laid out the full roadmap. Now, we didn't get into the technicals of the state connector. That's going to be the next video. And there's a separate blog on that that goes into details of like the technologies and how this is one of the best systems ever created for interoperability because of the technologies used. This is more about the products, the roadmap, and the layout. So these visuals that are in this blog, I think are very helpful, and we could reference these going forward. So now we have that roadmap. You could see the milestones to expect. Okay, this was done. Now that's going to be done. We updated consensus. Next was the State Connector client release and the F-Asset A launch. So one of the things that I think would be most relevant to all of us is testing the F-Asset launch on the Songbird Network. So we'll be able to do that in the near future. So hopefully this gives a nice breakdown for everybody to understand the Flare's team progress. After 6 years of development of what they're building here, it has become much bigger and much more powerful of a system than initially intended. And I think this is ultimately a great thing for the community. Yes, we had to wait a little longer, and that can be frustrating, but ultimately the network that is getting built is more powerful, and it connects everything, and ultimately is going to bring more value and utility to those who receive the Spark token and also SGB holders. None of this is financial advice. I'm Mickey B. Fresh, and I'm out.